like, oh my God, I can't believe you're killing the hogs. If you don't kill the hogs, and if you're a vegetarian, they're just going to root up and eat all your vegetables, or you ain't got no damn food.
No ears on them. Got some teeth on them. Yeah.
Woo! Car Hog. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for tuning in for tonight's episode. And tonight we are sponsored by TBC, thebestcamo.com. Also, we have Big Country Hunting Supply. They're on Facebook. You can check them out. Also, Hog Hunters Association and Straight Catch Facebook pages. And tonight we have a good guest for you guys. He's none other than Jackie Parker from Texas Hog Bait, and he's going to give us a little rundown on who he is.
Hey, I'm Jackie Parker, Texas Hog Bait, and one of the biggest questions we get is why did you call it Texas Hog Bait? Well, in the United States, there's the largest population of feral hogs is in Texas. The second largest population of feral hogs is in Florida. So, okay. Florida's chewed up with pigs. Texas is chewed up with pigs. So I was trapping pigs for a long time, and one day I was looking at all the baits, all the attractants that were made out there to lure these jokers in, and I was mixing up bait. Yeah. And I was like, wait a second, I'm making a good attractant right now. So then I really started studying it, and I immediately at that moment, I said, Texas Hog Bait. How come that doesn't exist? You know, right. we're the hog capital of the United States of America. They're trying to poison pigs. So yeah. I want to give you an alternative to that. You know, like we want to build attractants that puts pigs in pens or puts them under your feeders. So yeah. That was where I really kind of started to. That's where the company was birthed that day. So okay. From that point on, you know, we kept continuing to grow. That was in 2017.
All right, cool. And you mentioned like the poisoning and stuff like that. Plus, also you want to be more ecological, right? That's
yeah. You know. Yeah, I mean we're conservationists at heart. All of us are. You know, the problem is with feral swine and feral hogs in America is they're an invasive species, and right. They can survive almost anything. They don't really have any natural predators, so yeah. they you know the way they multiply, you know, they continue to just. I mean, they've gone from. I think the state of Texas reported. I mean, the state of Florida. Like in 2017, reported y'all had like 250,000 feral hogs in the state of Florida. That's completely wrong. Yeah. There's like 10 million pigs in the United States. Texas is loaded with, you know, we got at least 5 million feral hogs. They were reporting for like multiple years that we had 2.5 million pigs, and it's like, hey, wait a second. The way their gestational period is, the way they reproduce. I mean, so a sow will have. A piglet, typically the litter will be like 8. Yeah. Well, 4 of those are going to be sows. Right. So half of that's going to be, so in 6 months, those 4 sows are going to get pregnant and they're going to have a litter of 8. And then that's going to, so you do the math on that. We would have to kill 75% of all the feral hogs to keep them at bay, to keep them where they are at status quo, right? Yeah, we're killing right now. We're eradicating somewhere around 26%. Wow. So we're never really going to be short on feral hogs. The problem that I have with the entire system, like with the entire United States, is there really isn't a good system built that the United States could be like, hey, you know, in America. Because like in Europe, they consider feral hogs a delicatessen. You know, it's like a good meat they want to eat. Yeah, yeah. And we sell meat overseas because Texas has buy stations. We have buy stations. We have trappers that go to buy stations. So they'll take them. They'll take them to processing plants. They're the big processing plants.
Okay.
They'll process them. They'll ship the meat out. Like they'll ship the meat to New York. They'll ship the meat overseas. They'll turn some of it into dog food. And in reality, that's what I would prefer to see us do as a nation is say, hey, we need to talk to legislators and say, let's fund more trappers to say, hey, we want to give you a good reason to have a job, first of all, in the feral hog business, even though we have USDA trappers and state trappers and grants and things like that. That's really not enough. It's obviously proved that it's not enough. We need to be doing more because we could turn feral hogs into dog food. We could have inspectors at all the, you could have buy stations all across the United States, and you could sell the feral hogs. It would give an incentive for trappers to get out there and trap more hogs and get the numbers down a little bit more, because as a conservationist, you look at it's affecting our deer population. It's affecting, they're eating fawns and they eat they're literally killing cows.
Yeah. Not only that, they get into the agriculture also.
Yeah, they're as far as the agricultural goes, I went and met with Sid Miller. He's the state of Texas Ag Commissioner. So I drove down to Austin. I sat down with him. We talked about it. And farmers in Texas lost $1.5 billion. So you look at those numbers and you're like, that's just reported damages, right? So across the United States, a lot of farmers don't report the damages, right? They don't report the damages that are done. I was talking to a trapper, I think he was in Georgia, and he was telling me that when they would feed their cows, this boar hog would come in and he had massive tusks, 5 or 6 inches that are coming out, and he's going in there and he's rooting around and he's killing the cattle, trying to get into the feed tub and eat with the rest of the cattle. So they're losing cows all because these feral hogs are just they're going to eat, and especially like right now, during the the fall and the spring, pigs would go crazy because they have to continue. They want a higher caloric intake. They move a lot more when it's cooler outside. They'll move more. I mean, in Florida, the hogs have a lot of cover down there too, so that makes it even more difficult. So that was kind of the reasoning behind what we wanted to do, is we wanted to build attractants that were different than what people were used to using. And even in Florida, so we built one, like we got one called Hawaiian Crush. It's a Hawaiian punch-based attractant, and it smells fruity, coconuts and apples and things like that in there. So, because I know in Florida there's a lot of orange groves, but we're still working on a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff we're working on. We're going to keep working on it.
That's good stuff, man. That's good stuff. The beginning of Jackie Parker, the Hog Hunter, what's that like?
Man, that was that. So, I mean, we would go out to a lake and we would have feral hogs. And when I was a little kid, we wouldn't see them very often. And if you did, it was almost like a unicorn. In Texas, we call them the Texas black bear, because people outside of the state, like people outside of Florida and Georgia and South Carolina, this area up north in the northern regions, they consider shooting a feral hog like this thing is like a black bear to them. They just want to come see these jokers, So when I was a kid, we wouldn't see them very often. But I noticed in 2015 they were becoming a problem. Well, in 2017 they were a massive problem, and I was down here, at my mom's farm trying to trap them constantly, and I'm like, I can't believe this, but I'm trapping pigs like every single week. So I would tell the guys I worked with at the fire department, I'm like, hey, you guys want any pigs? And they're like, yeah, man. So they would, load up in the truck. We'd go down there. We'd get a pig. We'd go field dress it. We'd take it to the firehouse, smoke it, whatever. Guys would have, the full pig. Yeah. So that was where it all really started. And then I realized this state's trying to poison these things. This must be significant. Yeah. I mean, if you're literally trying to poison a hog, there must be a significant problem with feral swine population. Yeah. So that's when I started really diving deep into the understanding feral hogs. I read every article that any newspaper across the United States posted about feral hogs, whether it was a feral hog attack, whether it was the damage they were doing, the population, the growth. I can tell you right now that there are cities that are really close to where we are right now. They're little suburbs of the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, and they're trying to get their like animal control department, because I've had these guys come up here, and they've been called me and say, hey, we got a pig problem. What do we do? So that, they're starting to invade like these little suburban neighborhoods now. Eating their flower beds, eating their gardens, and they're like, what the heck? And they are really bad everywhere.
Yeah. It's getting like that around here in some places in Florida too. More in like Central Florida area. It's getting like that.
Yep. Central Florida, even South Central Florida.
Yeah, there's a lot of growth out that way, and they're starting to come across a lot of that stuff. You mentioned earlier about the hog trapping and stuff like that, and you said that you seen the reports of all the different hog invasions and stuff like that. I seen a report where like out there in Texas, it was a report, it was a video, they were interviewing different people and stuff like that, and I seen that it was like government funded, but then at one point the state started realizing, like, if we start just letting people just take these hogs out, we don't have to fund it no more. The hunters could more or less take up the bill on that. And then I seen like a lot of different ways where they trap them and they shoot them from the helicopters and stuff like that. I was like, wow, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah. So when you look at, like, if the state or the USDA or anyone's looking at, like, how do you solve the pig problem? Hunting pigs is really not going to solve that problem. The helicopters do, but believe it or not, the pigs have gotten really savvy to that sound. So when they hear that chopper coming in, they run for cover and they stay under cover. They know that they're very intelligent. So they'll stay under cover and let the helicopters just fly over and over and over, and they won't run out from cover. They know they're safe there. Now, some pigs that aren't used to helicopter traffic, it'll spook them and they'll run. And when they do, the helicopter goes down, and they start, hatching away at them. But trapping and helicopters is really a thing. It's a good way to get, to start dropping the numbers down a little bit. But hunting, so what they'll do when you hunt pigs is, this is what you got to remember, is if you put pressure on a pig, they'll go to the last place they felt safe. So they'll know that, I was at this property and there was no pressure over here. And they'll go over there, so then if they get pressure there, they'll go back somewhere else. They move a lot. And they also, one of the really cool things about pigs is that, and it's a complicated thing as well, is when you start to set up a bait site for trapping pigs, they'll bring a spotter hog will come in, like a sow, an alpha sow will come into an area, scout the area, sniff the area, check the area when they see the corn down the ground, and they'll look around, and then they'll eat it, they'll do whatever, and then they'll go back to the sounder and they'll communicate that with the sounder, and they'll let them know, hey, it's safe to come in. I've got video of them doing that. I showed my wife one night. I said, hey, watch this. This pig's coming in right now to see what's going on. He left immediately, and I said, watch what's coming. And the whole sounder came in, and they communicate. They're very vocal animals. While they're eating, they're communicating. If they're in distress, they're going to communicate. So.
Okay. I've seen some, because I'm on a few different, hog pages, like Texas hog hunting, stuff like that, Northeast Texas pigging and stuff like that. And I see them use that word sounder, but I never really knew what that was until you just explained it now. That's basically the whole pack coming in is what that is.
Yeah, it's a herd of pigs. I mean, either way you look at it. I mean, we make a liquid attractant, and we call it sounder syrup. So it's just, it sounds cool, really. So, I mean, it is intended to get the whole sounder, but the intent behind it was sounder syrup. I mean, I was going to make it called, when I first made it, I was calling it sounder sauce. And then when I started testing it with one of my big trappers, Ty Floyd over here in Texas, he started testing it, and he said, there ain't nothing saucy about this, man. This is a syrup, 100% a syrup. He said, you're not calling it sounder sauce, you're calling it sounder syrup. So I said, hey, Ty, you win, man. So We called it Sounder Syrup, and it's the first liquid we made is called Blackout, which tastes like black licorice.
Oh, okay.
He was really excited about it. It's an anise flavor attractant. Nobody else was really doing it. We wanted to do everything we wanted to do. We wanted it to be more specific to what we were trying to get accomplished and what the feedback we would get from hunters and trappers all across the United States. So we would get this feedback. And so that's why I made, Hawaiian Crush. That's why we made, peanut butter. That's why we made the Blackout, the licorice flavored. And we got other stuff that we're working on coming out right now. We got stuff we're field testing all the time because we want to build a better mousetrap, right? So it's always about trying to improve to compete with yourself. So I really don't compete with other businesses because that doesn't matter to me. I'm not worried about what another company's doing. We're in this business every day. We put boots on the ground in the field every week. We're constantly talking to trappers, talking to hunters all across the United States, not just in Texas. But the beauty of what we do is we have the ability to drive 15 minutes and test an attractant. Now,
nice.
That can be counterproductive because we'll test it there and we get great results. So then what I'll do is I'll take that same package and I'll ship it to Florida. Jeremy Vincent in Florida is a good buddy of mine. He lives in Punta Gorda. Or in that area, Charlotte County. So I'll send it over to him and he'll go out and test it. I'll send it to Mark Harrison up, and he's in the northern part, kind of the central Florida area.
Okay.
And he'll go out and test it. And then I'll send it to South Carolina, to Georgia, and I'll let these guys test it and say, hey, man, what kind of results are you guys getting back on this?
Yeah.
And the feedback, like Hawaiian Crush, was huge in Florida.
Nice.
The Blackout is huge in Georgia, but I got trappers in Georgia that swear by it. So we'll send them out to different areas, and then we'll get a collective study of what we've done. And we'll send several different flavors of things out, and then we'll just kind of narrow down the feedback and say, it's kind of like being a musician, an artist. You say, we're going to release this song now. We're going to release this song now. We're going to release this one. We're going to hold this one, and then we're going to dump it when things slow down. Or we're going to, so we've always got stuff up our sleeve that we're working on, but never to be gimmicky. Because I'm small. If we start pulling gimmicks, on people and they go, man, y'all used to make a good attractant.
Yeah.
Then today, we would be a business anymore. So we're not in this deal to really we're trying to make a living doing it, but we're not trying to make millions of dollars right off the bat. That's long-term goals. But right now we want to build a better mousetrap. We want to be reliable. We want to be dependable. I want you to be able to call and talk to me.
Right. You basically want to be a man of your word is what you're aiming for.
Absolutely. That that's kind of an old school thing these days.
Yeah.
But I'm old school. So, you got a question, you got a problem with something that you got from me or got from us, man, call me. We'll talk about it.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had people say things, and so I would tell them, hey, call me. Tell me what happened. This guy told me, he sent me an email, said, hey, man, I didn't get any pigs. So I said, hey, call me. I want to talk to you. So this guy ended up coming by the shop, and we ended up chatting. And I said, first question is you have a game camera set up there. Do you ever see pigs? Have you seen any pigs? And he said, no, not really. And he goes, but I know we have pigs on the property. So I said, so I pulled up a map, and I said, show me on this map where you're putting your stuff right now. And it was kind of out the middle of nowhere. So I said, hey, man, there's a pond over here. There's this area over here. I said, can you move your feeder here? And he said, yeah. I can move my feeder there because the pigs don't want to go into a really open area a lot of times if they get food somewhere else. Right. So he moved it. A week later, he calls me, shot 7 pigs that weekend. So he was using Hawaiian Crush, and now he's like, he's always whacking these jokers. Now he's doing that. But that's the type of feedback we need to get. So we can, if we get feedback, we can say, hey, that's cool because when I design a new package, I'm going to change the instructions on here on how do you use this, how to apply the product. We put it in the liquid in multiple trappers' hands, and I got all their feedback. And really, it's hard to find guys that know more about feral hogs than trappers do, because a really smart trapper knows about how to line the trap out with the attractants. To put bait trails out, what direction the pigs are coming in. I mean, these guys, they're like detectives.
Yeah.
So I'll talk to these guys and I'll say, how much do you think we should be using? We'll go through that whole process. I mean, I guess you could say it's scientific, but it's more, grassroots, down down out there doing it and seeing it with your own two eyes, because it's hard for me to push a product on anybody if I'm not a believer in it, and haven't seen it work or haven't tested it myself.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of like the old saying where they say, you can't coach football if you haven't played it,
That's right, man. It's hard to do anything in life like that. Truth be known. I mean, it's like I teach my kids, I'm like, it's really hard in life to grow if you've never been through pain.
Exactly.
They say no pain, no gain in the gym, but I say really in life, no pain, no gain. If you don't know how far $15 will go for you, and when you're growing up, you don't realize how far, a buck will get you.
Mm-hmm.
You probably have been enabled your entire life, and life's going to be hard.
Mm-hmm.
Life is already hard, and people take things for granted, although we shouldn't take anything for granted because life is also short.
Yeah.
So it's like, stop worrying about what anybody cares about you, because, philosophically, you have one nail in life, and you can either put that in your coffin or you can build something with it. So I try to tell my kids, build something with it, but it's going in your coffin regardless. So you might as well be you and build what you want to build versus build what you think other people think you want, because that's a confusing life to live, and not being authentic about everything.
I totally agree with that, because that's kind of the way I teach my boys when they were coming up. I always told them, I'm not going to force any sports on you. I'm not going to force any activities on you. What you choose to do, but when you do it, you got to finish it. If you decide to go to wrestling, you need to finish one whole season of wrestling, not just quit halfway through. But not only that, it's like everybody expects their kids to come out of high school and go to college. Not everybody's built that way. I'm a man that uses hands. You know what I mean? So that's
man. I think college is completely overrated for a lot of people. I truly believe that. Yeah. I know that might sound controversial, but I don't have a college degree.
Yeah.
I'm a battalion chief in the fire department. I have a business. There's a lot of different ways you can go about learning. If you want to be a school teacher or a coach or things like that, then there's a process you have to go through. But if you want to be anything, you have to take a trade. You have to learn how to do it. Yeah. You become an apprentice and you work with people. The hard part about the business I'm in is I had to learn from a lot of hard knocks, but I was used to it because I grew up learning the school of hard knocks. So in this business, I had to learn, how to put a UPC code on a package and not to just walk into Academy and say, hey, you guys want to sell Texas hog bait? You actually got to talk to buyers, and I didn't know that stuff, I mean, it sounds so weird. It's like, well, where do you start in a business? And then there's the whole marketing side of it. Mm-hmm. So you really got to reach a lot more people, with social media nowadays. And that's been, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. Twitter's horrible. It's more political than anything. It's awful. It's an awful platform for me personally. Yeah. But what's crazy is a lot of people were like talking about TikTok in the marketing way. And I was listening to Gary Vee one day, and he was like, if you're not on TikTok, you're basically an idiot. So, he was, I don't care if you're 50 years old, you still should be on here, because if you think it's just kids, do you think you're going to be in business long enough for these kids to eventually buy your product? And I was like, yeah, I do think I'm going to be in business that long. So, I mean, if you're not, your business has already kind of failed, So I started a TikTok account, and we're up to like 140,000 followers in a period of a year. We get a lot of engagement. Yeah, I have a lot of kids that follow our page, but we engage with these because we're trying to teach them, conservation. So we answer their questions. We try to teach them and be polite, and not use foul language on our platforms, and we try the best to keep it as clean as possible. But we also get a lot of people on there that don't understand the problem, and we try to explain it to them as well. Yeah. We try to do that in the best polite manner that we possibly can, because when you start cramming stuff down somebody's throat, the first thing they're going to do is they're going to back up. They're going to look for the way to get out of this, because this is not, and it's not attractive to people.
Yeah.
So I'll be happy to explain anything to some people. I did a thing with PBS, and everybody that came down, they didn't like guns. They didn't like what we were doing. I said, you do realize we're going on a hog hunt, right? So I took the time to sit down and explain to the film crew what we were doing, and they didn't understand the infestation that we were dealing with, and that really nobody was ever talking. Nobody really talks about. They don't really put it on the news. You know, they like to put other stuff on the news because that's what people are like. You start putting feral hogs on the news, and people are going to be like, "What? I don't even know that's a problem." You know, there's a problem with that. You know, you go and you shoot and harvest the feral hog, and people are like, "Yeah, man, that's disgusting." It's not disgusting. I mean, you cook them to over 150 degrees, and they're delicious. You know, there's several different ways you can use them and eat them, and we want to teach that too. So
and that's a big issue too, because you have people that have no idea of this type of life or lifestyles, and they want to impose what they think in their what is it, their sheltered world, I guess. You know, the only thing they know is you go to grocery store to get your meat, or you go to McDonald's to get your sandwich or whatever. They don't really ever take a second to think about, where does this actually come from? How is it processed? So it seems like they always want to try to impose their way of thinking to somebody that's lived that way all their life out in the country. So I see that a lot, and it's like, sometimes you can open some eyes, and sometimes it's just beating on a dead horse.
Right. Yeah, you know, and it's like the pandemic really last year when it went down, it was kind of really showed a lot of people. And in Texas, the big freeze we had, you know, a month ago, that was a pretty massive hit on a lot of people in Texas. You know, when I was leaving to go to the fire station, people lost power. You know, they lost their water. You know, in our house, we were prepared. We had put water in the bathtub. I have a Coleman stove. Before I went to work, our power just went out. I laid the Coleman stove. I laid the flashlights, the lanterns, and all these things were laid out. So my wife cooked like beans or something that, you know, or a stew or something the day that I was gone, and they had no power. They were still cooking hot food that day. You know, but we really, in schools, it shouldn't be, you know, like an elective to take a class on how to turn your water off if you got a water leak. You know, it shouldn't be an elective on, you know, they could, you know, you could teach a class, and I know this sounds kind of weird, but, you know, you could teach a class on how to bait a hook and how to tie a hook on a fishing line. Because so many kids don't understand how to do that, because everybody's so busy, you know, their lives are just passing them by, and they're like, oh, you know, I want to take my kid fishing one day. Problem is, you don't know how to tie a lure onto a fishing pole. And I want to help you learn how to do that. I want to help you learn how to, you know, harvest an animal from the moment you know, get the bullets or the trap to the knife and to the skillet, you know. So we need to teach more of that in America.
Certainly do. So you said you was going to the different regions and stuff like that. When you was talking about those different bait flavors and stuff like that, you said the one is the Hawaiian punch, and that's something that I've always heard about. When people say, hey, have you ever tried this, use this and use that? And that's one thing that people always bring up here in South Florida, Hawaiian punch. But it brought up an incident I had with talking to one of my friends. I'm actually going hunting with him tomorrow. And his brother has a sugarcane field. And, you know, they always want us to come in there and just keep the pressure on these hogs to try to keep them out of the sugarcane, because they would do some damage on the sugarcane.
Oh, yeah.
And he, my friend, his name is Jason. My friend told me that he went out there and set up a couple traps, you know, picked out where the high traffic is at and set up a couple traps. He said he threw some corn in there and nothing hit it. Nothing, because they're going to the sugarcane. So nothing hit that corn. And then I asked him if he ever tried molasses, and he said no. He said I tried some other stuff, but I didn't try no molasses. So we never did try any molasses. But not too long ago, we was in a tournament, in a hog tournament, and this one area that we had identified out that is heavy traffic with hogs. We tried the Hawaiian punch. We put the corn in there. We dig a hole down about 3 or 4 feet deep, and the water starts coming up from the bottom. And you put the corn in there, and it kind of sours up after a couple of days. But we threw a Hawaiian punch in there too, just to try a different flavor. Tracks right by it. They didn't even touch it because they're going right into the street game.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, I was like, man, if you could figure out something for that might be your next hit, man.
So sometimes when pigs smell something new that they're not used to smelling, initially they'll sort of be turned off by it. You know,
Yeah.
they don't really know what it is. If it's radical change, then they won't mess with it. You know, over a period of time, you know, they'll get more acclimated to it. You know, if you're baiting, there's a lot of people that use their own concoctions, and I always tell them if it's working, then keep using it. You know, and molasses works. You know, using Kool-Aid to work, that stuff just gets really expensive when you try to get it down into like that's why we were working on our products so hard, is because people were like, you need to make one that tastes like, you know, Kool-Aid or Hawaiian Punch or even peanut butter. We have a peanut butter. And so we go in and we test these things, and we get peanuts, and we use peanuts in our attractants, and we use molasses in our attractants, and then we add food grade flavor ingredients to these attractants to make them smell and taste just like peanut butter or just like Hawaiian Punch. You know, we actually call it Hawaiian Punch, just so Hawaiian Crush, just so they wouldn't come after us, you know, and say, you know, hey, that's ours, it's trademarked.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, I mean, so you kind of got to find a balance of what the best thing is that's not going to turn them away.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not ever going to say that our products wouldn't turn a pig away, just because pigs are used to getting fed a certain thing, like you're going to a sugarcane field. They already know what they want to eat that day.
Yeah.
You know, but a lot of times when that's depleted, that's when you can get them. You know, when there's acorns, they're a lot of times going to hit acorns. We've pulled them off acorns before. You know, with some of our stuff, we've been able to pull them off of some sugarcane fields. We've been able to pull them off of peanut fields and wheat fields and corn fields. You know, that's our goal, is to find that balance of where they would be like, hey, what's this? The very first time we tested peanut butter with feral hogs in Texas, we had a pig put his nose up in the air, and I was like, what's going on? He came up, he smelled the area, he ate a little bit, he turned around and he ran off. And I was like, this isn't good. But then he was just coming up there as a scout. So then the whole entire batch came, and we trapped a bunch of pigs in 3 hours. I don't know the exact number, but it was like over 25. So they were pigs in a pen. So we knew, okay, we're onto something. And the same trappers, he's trapped, I don't know, in the last week or so, like over 100 pigs. So it's been crazy. He's a peanut butter fan, you know.
Yeah.
He was also a blackout fan, and now he's like hooked on the peanut butter. He loves what it's doing for him.
All right, so let me ask you this for the people that listening and want to try your product. Where is it available at?
So it's available in all the Buc-ee's. There's a Buc-ee's in Florida. There's Buc-ee's in Georgia, Alabama, and then a lot of them in Texas. Okay. So and then there's online, TexasHogBait.com. There's, you know, sometimes people get frustrated with the shipping. All they got to do is send us an email from the website saying, hey, man, the shipping is crazy. If they send us an email, then we'll either we'll send them back a coupon code, you know, because we have a couple of different ones. And you'll ship something back. I'd have to go look and see what the exact coupon codes are, but we'll tell them, hey, you know, do this, you know, if the shipping becomes a problem, because we don't want to turn anybody away from buying our products in any area of the United States.
Yeah.
But that is a problem. And they're also available on Amazon Prime. So we don't sell them on Amazon, but we have vendors. We have people that buy from us, and they sell them on Amazon. We're working right now. One of the things that we've really been working on right now in 2021, and we've been working on it for a while, but it's all coming together right now, is the scaling up. We're scaled up pretty decently right now because we just got a new shop and this is our new facility. And but being able to bag it faster and more efficiently is what the key is. So that's where we're at right now. We got new bag fillers, bag sealers, conveyor belts. All this stuff's in now. So we're about to start hitting up like academies, Tractor Supplies, Orscheln's, things like that. So, we're not going to beg any store to carry our product. We know we got a good product. Yep. We know we got it priced in a good spot. For these big stores to buy. It's just it's just reaching those buyers in those stores and getting it in there. And we're going to get there 100%. We're going to get there. And it's going to start happening this year because we're already got the Orscheln's Farm and Home is a big store based out of Missouri, but there's several of them in Texas. There's several in Arkansas, Oklahoma, Indiana, a store like that. We're going to get in those stores and then people are going to start seeing it. So they actually contacted us and wanted us to see what they had to do to carry our products. So once the word starts getting out a little bit more, then more of these stores, we'll start purchasing it. We have a couple of like feed stores in Alabama because a USDA trapper went into Buc-ee's, bought it, and said, "Hey, I buy all my stuff through you because we have we're set up, we have an agreement set up that we get all of our products through this feed store." So that feed store called me and said, "Hey, what's it take to become a vendor for you?" And I told him, I said, the best approach for both you and me is if we make it a pallet of bait, because shipping will eat you alive. So we can ship about $200 or whatever to ship, anywhere in the United States, the same amount of stuff, whether I ship it to Abilene, Texas, or ship it to Loxley, Alabama. So we try to get these other stores. We try to work with them on the pricing and the shipping and stuff if they'll buy a pallet of attractant. We've shipped more pallets this year than we've ever shipped, so we're growing, but it's just a hard process. And we just got to keep doing stuff like this. We got to keep having conversations with people. We got to keep our word. We got to be honest. We got to have integrity. We got to keep, but we got to keep our nose to the grindstone too, and we got to, it's almost like being a quarter horse or something. You got to put your blinders on and you got to go straight and you got to keep going. You can't keep looking over your shoulder, wondering what's going on. You got to keep working hard every single day because if not, you look behind you, they're going to pass you or you're going to get sucker punched, So we got to keep our eye on the ball, and that's what we're doing right now, and we're going to keep doing that no matter what. I'm going to keep, I'm going to keep running. This isn't a sprint, man. This is a long race. This is life.
Yeah.
And I want this to be something that my grandchildren can take over one day,
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Like you said earlier, boots on the ground. That's the best way to do it.
Truth is, it is. I mean, a lot of these companies are owned by hedge companies and they did their job is to kill it in marketing and things like that. I feel like as far as packaging goes, on a shelf, we have the best packaging in the country. I mean, not to mention, because, this is my company. So when I build packaging, I want it to be a representative of what I believe it should look like. And I want it to look attractive. But the most important thing is I want you to buy it and go, hey, you know what? This book was better than the cover. Even though the cover was amazing.
Yeah.
You're going to pick it up and use it and you're going to be hooked. And we got a lot of customers that are always calling us saying, hey, this stuff works. And that's the only thing that matters to me is that you have a good experience. Your family has a good experience. Cause on our website, we're God, family, friends, and the great outdoors. That's who we are as a company. And we want everybody, families and to build memories, and share pictures with us. And we'll share them on our website or we'll share them, on our social media platforms and be proud with you guys.
Yeah. That's cool because it is, man. It's all about family, and that always comes first. Or I'm that way, family comes first, and I always love when my boys want to go out and go get a hog or get a deer or whatever the case may be, I love that because I grew up doing that with my dad, you know?
It's a
It's
community.
being,
Just like me and you having this conversation right now. I mean, we're part of a community that really, we all see things, you know, we're like 98% all genetically the same. You know, we're like all this, we're all so similar. And then there's, you know, people have these biases towards certain things, and it's like, oh, hunting's bad. But hunters, you know, you have a cultural bias towards another hunter, another person in the outdoors world. But one of the worst things that I hate more than anything is when people hate on other people for doing something. So a kid shot, you know, a spike or whatever, or it was a, you know, a 4-point, and people get up there and go, man, that's stupid. You shouldn't, you know, you should let that, you know, it's like, hey, look, man, that's a good thing. You know, we got guys out there doing that. Pig's not big enough to, you know, that's not hate on each other. We're supposed to be building each other up and helping each other, and
yes, sir,
and not publicly trying to humiliate someone, because I'll shut you down for that, you know, because
yes,
I don't like the whole bullying thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree with that, man, because I'm the same way. I mean, of course, I got a little bit of, you know, competitiveness in me, and, you know, yeah, it's nice to get a big hog or whatever, this and that, but I don't hate on the next man for however hell he wants to do it. I mean, if he uses bay dogs and he shoots the hogs, fine. If he catches the hog, his dog's catching it, he kills it, he dispatches it with a knife, fine. If he sits in the tree, a hog with a bow, fine. You know, if people that don't have the time in their lives, but they may like the aspect of running or actually getting out to the woods or trying to. So the only way they can afford to do it is going to a high fence area. Maybe that's the only time they have out of their busy schedule
you're
or
not
whatever
wrong.
the case.
You're not wrong.
You know, if
well, the
that's what
most
they
competitive.
do.
I'm with you. I'm very competitive, but I've learned to harness all that competitiveness and channel it in a direction to where I compete with me. Like, I don't worry about competing with other people. I compete with myself. Like, how to become a better version of myself every single day. Like, you know, I want to be a better man. I want to be a better father, better husband, you know, better coach, better business owner. You know, so I work on me every single day to try to become that better, much better of a guy, instead of being this guy that's like trying to tear somebody down, because a person that's trying to hurt somebody or tear somebody down, typically they're hurt somewhere inside. You know, they're the ones that are hurting inside, because if you're not hurting inside, then you're going to be like, hey, man, that's awesome, man. Good job. You know, I'm proud of you guys. And I'm in a good place, happy place in my life where it doesn't matter to me if you get a pig that's 60 pounds, 70 pounds. If you're proud of it, then I'm proud of it with you. I'm proud with you. I'm right there with you. I'll be your biggest cheerleader.
I hear you. That's like that saying where they say good leaders produce great leaders.
Yeah. And the best part about, you know, leadership and things like that is you got to learn to be a follower first.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you got to learn the apprenticeship of being a leader.
Exactly.
And as you go, people aren't going to follow you if you're not, you know, if you're not a leader, then no one's following you anywhere. You know, and if you don't have the integrity and if you're not personally accountable to yourself, like when you come to me and say, hey, man, you were wrong about that. And I'll go, you know what? You're right. I was. Yeah. Now people want to go, hey, man, you know what? The guy's pretty transparent. He's going to listen to what I say. He's not a know-it-all. You know, he's willing to accept the fact that this was not right. I take a lot of input from a lot of people, you know, and then I collectively make a decision, you know, and then I got to own that decision at the end of the day, because I'm the one that's accountable. The failure or success of this business, it's going to fall on my shoulders. It's not going to fall on y'all's for doing this podcast. I mean, it's not going to fall on Bucky's for any other reason. I mean, at the end of the day, I got to be accountable to that. And really, that's where leadership comes in to people who will listen to you if you're authentic and you're accountable to yourself and sincere. You know, and they're gonna be like, hey, man, I got you.
Yeah, that's like a good boss. I mean, I've had the opportunity, for the lack of a better term, been a boss a couple of times, and I try to be that boss that I wanted, and then bosses that I liked working for. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it's those took on the weight with you, not dumped it all on you and took the credit for it. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, in my job, I guess you could consider me like the boss. I try not to use that term very often because you say, like, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
We all do this. We are all here, you know, in doing the same thing. I just got different responsibilities than you do. You know, like I have different responsibilities than what you have, but we still get our check signed from the same person or a particular person or whatever. And at the end of the day, my responsibility is the people that I'm providing a service to, you know, like I'm selling my attractants to. So they're really the ones that paying my check, you know, so I'm still a servant, you know, like I am in the fire service. I'm still a servant to people, and they still pay my bills, because if I don't do what I say I'm going to do, I'm not going to have a job.
Yeah. I totally agree. So with the testing and stuff like that, you ever have any of them crazy situations where like a hog jump out of the trap and chase you or anything like that?
Yeah. I guess it was about a month ago. We were loading some pigs up, and I was shooting a lot of video, and I got down low, and I have a little DJI Pocket Pro thing. It's a 4K camera I was using. I was right there at the panels, and the sow ran straight at me. She was coming directly at me, and I thought, well, they're going to smash into the panels. That's what they do. No, like Wonder Woman style, this sow jumps and tries to. And if it wasn't a 5-foot panel, she would have cleared that thing, and it was coming to eat me alive. So yeah, that happens. I mean, they're snappy, and if they're in a trap, they're mean. I mean, if you get them in a trap situation, you know, they're like, hopefully most of us are. They're not going to put up with it. You know, it's like, hey, look, I'm fighting to the death. I mean, are you willing to do that? I'm like, hey, look, you know, we want to load you in this trailer and take you to a buy station. You know, so they know that this is it for them. You know, they know they're not dumb. You know, so yeah, there's been a lot of incidences where I was bruised up on that same trip from getting in there and loading up some of the smaller hogs. You know, because they're brutal little jokers. You know, they're feisty. Even the smaller ones.
Yeah, that's what I tell the boys too. I tell my girlfriend's boys that too when we go hunting. You know, I remind them sometimes, you know, hey, for that hog, it's life or death. You know, for us, you know, we're going out there to hunt. We're working our dogs because we enjoy it, and we're going out there, you know, whether we eat it or we bar them out or whatever, because we're allowed to do that in Florida. You know, whether we bar them out or release them or whatever, you got to understand, for that hog, it's life or death. So when he sees you coming, he's coming fight with his boots strapped on, and that's it. You know, but a lot of people seem to forget that.
So, like a sow that has piglets, if you get within certain proximity of that sow and it's dark or whatever it is outside, they're feeding or whatever, and you walk up on them, she will attack you unprovoked, because her number one job is to protect her piglets. But when they are under duress like that, they're going to communicate that. So then other alpha sows or boars or whatever is in the area, they're going to come over there and they're going to see you as the enemy, because that's what they've been communicating is this guy's the enemy, and we definitely need to do something to stop this from going on. And then they're gonna rip you up, because even sows have tusks. You know, a lot of people are surprised. Most of them are pretty small, but they still have tusks.
Yeah,
and they still can cut you, and they can hurt you severely. And we had a lady down near Houston last year that was killed by feral hogs. She was a hospice nurse. She was walking into a house to care for, you know, her patient, and I guess it was early in the morning. The sun hasn't come up yet, and she walked in and they found her dead in the driveway. And they said it was feral hogs that attacked her.
Wow.
That's the scenario that's the only scenario that could play out in my head, is that it was a sow that had piglets, and she felt threatened, and she went on the attack, even though that lady had no idea what was going on.
Right.
So really, there's more pig attacks in America than there are shark attacks, and we're more afraid of sharks. Yeah, so there's more pig attacks than there are sharks, and we're more afraid of going in the ocean because of the shark attacks, but then you're going out in the woods. You know, so it's like, not that I'm trying to scare anybody from going in the woods, but we haven't seen Jaws, the pig version yet. You know, maybe it'll come out, or, you know, Hognado, But those are movies that I'm going to work on when I get a little smarter and a little bit more money, maybe. But so that's a real thing. You just got to be aware of what's going on. I mean, you can't be afraid of them. Typically, they're more afraid of you than you are them, just like sharks. They don't want to attack you, but sometimes it happens.
Yeah, yeah. It's basically the same thing with alligators. Well, in most places.
Mm-hmm.
Now there are places where those alligators associate the splashing with food, but then when you have the alligator used to the human traffic, you don't really have to. I mean, of course, you always got to keep an eye out, but it ain't like you're having to look over your shoulder the whole time in those areas, Speaking of the movies, there is a movie from like the 80s, Razorback. You ever see that movie?
No, I'll put it on my list right now.
Yeah, it's from like in the 80s, and it's about it's in Australia. It's based in Australia, and it's about a hog that, I don't know if you was to give a weight to it. I guess it's like a 1,200-pound, 1,500-pound hog with like 2-inch tusk that's terrorizing Australia.
Like Cujo or something. The pig version of Cujo.
Like that.
Australia's chewed up with pigs.
Yes, it is.
They're actually using sodium nitrate right now over there. The problem is when I talk to Sid Miller about that, it's a poison, and that inoculates them. It's like they get like anesthesia. They just go to sleep.
Okay.
But it's also killing like cows and horses too. It's so strong. So it's probably not going to come to America. It's probably not going to come. There's rumor that the USDA is looking at it, but
they're calling it 1080 or something like that. It's got a number or something associated.
Yeah, I don't know the number, but I know that you can use it in Texas. You can use warfarin. They can sell it, but you got to have a license. You got to be. It's like a pesticide, is what it is. But they do it in certain areas. But it killed a lot of birds, so they kind of had to go back to the drawing board on how they were doing that. And that's when, like I said, that's how we started our business. We're like, hey, if it's that big of a deal that you got to start poisoning pigs, then we got to jump on this train and ride this thing out, because we want to make a product that people like to hunt them too, and trap them.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier about the sows. The kids' cousins, 2 different cousins, within the past couple of months have caught sows that were like 150 pounds, but had about 2.5, almost 3-inch teeth. It was crazy.
Yeah, sir. I saw somebody said the other day, they were like, man, this sow had tusks. It's all these feral hogs. A hog, even a domestic pig, will go feral. If they're young enough, it only takes 24 hours, and everything starts to change. Their instincts, their behaviors, and their growth, their hair, their tusks, their snouts. Everything starts to change, and they can become, an older domesticated pig will turn feral in 2 weeks. So they'll change everything. They'll even be breeding with these other ones. So in America, we really have a hybrid. The feral hogs we have here are not Russian boars. They're not, they're not one specific. They're really a hybrid of just all kinds of pigs that were domesticated, whether it be a Duroc or a Hamp or a Yorkshire, and then a Russian boar. So you'll see a lot of them with a lot of similarities, but then some of them are red. Some of them are black and spotted. Some of them are, real brown, like Razorbacks, and black like Russian boars.
Yeah.
But technically they're not really Russian boars. They're just a hybrid of a Russian boar. There were Russian boars brought into Texas for high fencing, and they escaped, or they let them go, or people let them free. And then that's when they brought them over in Spain in like the 1800s as a food source. And then big money people decided, we'll bring in some Russian boars for high fences. And then, well, here we are now, and we have we're overrun with feral hogs in America.
Yeah. Basically a Heinz 57. It's got a little bit of everything in
it would be a great documentary to do about feral hogs too, and discussing how, I have one written in my head. All the storyboard's already done. It's just a matter of time and money, and I don't have either one of those right now. So those are 2 commodities that I'm short on.
And then sometimes you might have a little money, but you got no time, and then it's the other way around.
Man, brother, that's a fact right there. That's a fact.
I know how that goes, man.
Yeah. Time management is a big factor in what I do, especially, with trying to have a family and trying to run a business and then trying to work a full-time job. That's why I brought my son on full-time to do this side of stuff. And yeah, you got to learn to run your time. You got to run a pretty tight string.
Yeah.
But it's cool because I'm not the type of guy to just sit around anyway.
Yeah.
I'm not the type of guy just to sit around and go, man, I think I'm going to do a crossword puzzle today. I'm not going to do a crossword puzzle, and I'm probably not going to read a book unless it's actually going to provide some information to me that's going to be something I can utilize.
Yeah.
I very rarely, I know it sounds kind of crazy, but I very rarely read books for pleasure, ever.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, hey, if I'm going to sit down and put forth hours of reading something, I feel like I need to learn something, like how to be a better something, how to be a better communicator, how to, be a better leader, or run a business better, So there's all those opportunities out there. That's why I really don't like excuses, honestly. I mean, I get a lot of people that say, I wish I'd, whatever. It's like, hey, dig in. Just dig in. Put the blinders on and go forward. Anything is possible. It truly is if you'll just dig in and go.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a book about it. There's a book about whatever you want to be. If you want to learn how to crochet, there's a book on it. There's a YouTube video on it. Start watching YouTube videos and start, following along with however it is. That's how I learned how to play the guitar.
Yeah.
Watch YouTube videos.
Yeah.
It's really how I learned how to do social media because I'm older, so I'm not like a little kid that's going to know how to do these TikTok videos or do, a video on, on Adobe Pro. I got to watch all these videos, learn how to edit pictures, learn how to edit videos, learn how to post stuff, learn the algorithms. All these things is like, hey, you know what? Don't make up excuses, man. There's a ton of content on YouTube for free that we can use. And thank you for the YouTube person that provided that information.
Exactly.
Because now I know more in my business. I'm by no means am I an expert in business. I'm not.
Yeah.
My business plan is well, let's see what's going on tomorrow. Because we're going to open tomorrow up and we're going to hit it hard and see where it takes us. Because we're growing fast and things are flying past us and we're just trying to capture all the stuff and then still, shake hands and be friendly with people and not have time to get on the phone. But sometimes, it's just work. It's just work. It's just a hard day, I mean, I come home at the end of the day, I'm tired because I worked all day. Yeah. And I'm okay with it though. That's what I chose to do.
Right. Yeah, I'm right there with you with the YouTube and everything else, and then having the kids in the house too. When we started this podcast talk, me and Alex, when we got the bright idea to do podcasts, I had no clue about it. So I got the kids teaching me how to do the little editings and the little apps and stuff like that, and figuring out how to do the audio, and then trying to set up camera, light, all this and that. But that YouTube too, also, I was a crash course for about a week.
I'll tell you a funny story. Right before you called me, I was literally on YouTube because I have all these lights, and I sent a picture to Alex, and I was like, I've never really used them for anything other than pictures for stuff. And we have a whole light system, and my son really does most of that. So I watched a YouTube video on how to set up a lighting for like a YouTube video. So I was like, okay. So I Skyped my son before this call, said, hey, man, how's the lights look? Because he's like that. He's into that audio stuff, and he knows all those things and how it works. And I'm like, hey, how's this look? And he's like, oh, try this, do that. And show me your setup. And I'm moving stuff around. He goes, right there, you're perfect. So thanks, YouTube, and my 22-year-old son.
Right.
Yeah, it works. Hey, you know what? I'm still not too old to ask my son how to do something, or to ask my daughter, hey, how do you do this? They were the ones that told me, when on TikTok, you got to do vertical videos, not horizontal. You want the video to take up the whole screen, not just a little horizontal section. So I was like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. So everything's kind of going vertical. YouTube videos are going vertical because you want to see more. When you flip it, that's an application that's used on YouTube as well. And there's definitely an application for that. But like in TikTok world, everything's vertical. Instagram Reels, everything's vertical. Because because you can't turn your phone on a TikTok video, or you can't turn your phone on an Instagram Reels, or an Instagram, whatever the other one is. you can't turn it sideways on those and it won't turn. It'll just be, you'll be looking at it sideways. So you have to learn to do the vertical 916 or whatever it's called.
Yeah. Yeah. The thing you were talking about with the YouTube too, also that I always refer to YouTube videos to make sure I'm mechanicking correctly.
That's right. I have a degree from YouTube. Honestly, if you could get a degree from YouTube, I've got one. That's the degrey I have.
Yeah, because I was changing out a hub assembly on my front end on my truck earlier today, and there was one piece I couldn't remember how it came off, and then I had to look it up, and I looked it up, and sure enough, it was only like 2 seconds of the video, but there was that one piece.
Yeah, you got it. I got it. You know how many times I've cooked food? I look up how to cook like pork shoulders or pork butts or whatever, like I've tons of like Instant Pot videos. And yeah, I'm a culinary expert based off the fact that I watched a ton of YouTube videos. And I had a 60-second TikTok video on how to make homemade tortillas. I sent my wife the other day and said, hey, let's make these. It's 60 seconds long, and she made them, and they were delicious, so that information is definitely out there for folks if you're just willing to spend the time to go look for it and find it. And it could be and it really could be a catalyst to bigger things. You could see something, then you go, hey, you know what? I think I'm probably kind of good at this, and I enjoy doing it. Man, if you can line those two things up in life, that's heaven. That's heavenly. Enjoy what you're doing, be passionate about it, and be good at it. You find that you've definitely found your calling.
And don't be late for dinner.
I'm gonna eat. I got a whole pantry up here at the shop. We got food everywhere, so we're not gonna go hungry around this place.
You said you're a firefighter. What do you work? Is it 48 on, 24 off?
So I'm 24 on and 48 off.
Oh, okay. All right.
So the good thing is when I do go to the fire station, I don't really do Texas hog bait. It's kind of a nice little thing for me to go there and focus on that job, and to let my son run this side of the business. And then when I get off at 6 o'clock in the morning, I flip a switch and I'm Texas hog bait, 100% Texas hog bait mode. I try not to cross those things over because I want to be good at what I do when I'm there. It's like be here now. So when I'm with my wife or with my kids, I want to be there right now. I don't want to be doing other stuff. If we're in the middle of a conversation, I don't want to be over here on my phone, looking stuff up and doing whatever. I want to be having a conversation with you. Yeah. So that's kind of the intent really behind that is when I'm at Texas Hog Bait, I want to put 100% of my effort into this. And when I'm at the fire department, I want to put 100% of my effort into that.
Right. Yeah. I was asking because I've had a couple friends that are firefighters. I couldn't remember what the hours were, but at one point when I was younger, I was actually a certified volunteer, but that's back when it was only like 40 hours to qualify for that. Yeah.
Things have changed a lot since then. Yeah.
I've heard it's like 2 hours or something like that now.
I don't even know what it is anymore. I know like our academies are like 6 months long for these recruits when they come in, and it's like Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. They got a PT. It's like being in boot camp, from the fire service. I mean, it's pretty tough,
Yeah.
I went to a fire academy on my own dime, and then I worked my way in the fire service and got hired on. And things have changed. It's used to back like in the 80s and 90s, it was really hard to get a job in the fire department because everybody wanted that job. But today, there's not as many people applying for those jobs as there used to be. So, if there's people out there that want to be in the fire service, then or a police officer, now's the time to apply because it seems like the applications have gone way down before they've gone up.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I wasn't aware of that. Must be I guess the responsibility sides of it or something.
I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's become like a cultural thing with a lot of these younger guys that look at it as not as an appealing job anymore because, in the 80s and the 90s, you didn't have YouTube. We have, esports centers now where people are literally getting college degrees by playing video games, right? So, they can make money off of doing a YouTube video and become extremely popular, like the Jake Paul guy that's boxing. He's boxing Ben Askren. He's a YouTuber and he's a multimillionaire because he capitalized on making YouTube videos. I make YouTube videos, but just like pig stuff. You know, I don't actually get on and talk to. I don't ever have a time. You know, but that's an interesting way of going about it too. So there's a lot of different avenues in today's world to make a ton of money. You know, doing what you're passionate about, and success is defined to me by, you know, what I define it as. No one can define what success is in the world. No one can say, well, he's a successful guy. No, I determine that, you know, because like Texas Hog Bait is a successful business. Are we an Academy or Walmart? No, we're not. But that doesn't mean we're not successful, you know, because we are successful, just like what you're doing, your podcast. You determine whether or not it's successful or not. You know, no 3 or 4 viewers can say, yeah, they don't really have a very big podcast or whatever. You know, you determine how it's is it fun? Do you enjoy it? Are you putting out good content? Are you getting good feedback, you know, from the viewers that you have? It doesn't matter if there's 15 or 15 million. It's you know, we defined that it was a successful podcast. This is a successful podcast.
Yeah.
You know, according to me, you know.
Yeah. I'm with you, man, because I mean, a lot of people seem like they get a spotlight and then all of a sudden, their head blows up. You know what I mean? And it shouldn't be that way. You know, you start out humble, you should stay humble. No matter, you know,
they're gonna see right through that too, and you can tell too whenever, you know, being comfortable in your own skin is the most important thing that anybody can teach anybody in the world, and it's a really good place to live too. You know, it's a really good place to be when you're sitting there and like, yeah, you know, this is, I mean, because you can say what's on your mind. You can say what comes to your mind. You can actually spit it out, you know, and if you have to think, well, I don't know if I should say that because I don't want him, you know, I don't want him to not like me. I don't want him to not like me. You know what? The deal is we're going to find out eventually. We're going to find the truth. The truth is easy to remember, and we're eventually going to see that in everything. And then it's going to be like, man, you're confusing me now. You know, wait a second, you know? So.
Yes, sir. I wanted to touch back on the you brought it up earlier, those buy stations that you guys have, like where they take the meat and stuff, they buy that. How does that work? What's
so
the deal
a buy
with that?
station is a little holding facility in different parts of the counties and all across the state in Texas. We have buy stations located everywhere, and the buy stations are owned by like a buyer. Let's say there's one buyer. So that one big buyer owns all these buy stations in all these counties where they know that there's a large population of feral hogs. So they'll have a holding facility. So then that holding facility is run by another guy who individually sort of kind of like owns a franchise to that.
Yeah.
So he's the one that you go to that buy station and then he sells the pigs to the big buy station, to the like the slaughterhouse.
Okay.
So they'll take the pigs in a trailer alive. They'll let the buyer know, the buy station know they're coming to the station. Whether the buyer meets you there or not, it'll be your responsibility to tell him, hey, I got pigs in pen number 3. And there's 27 of them in there. And it's like a little prison. Honestly, that's what it looks like. There's big bars everywhere. And you can run them in. And then there's just, you run them down. You can run them down and change the gates and push them into different rooms, however you want to push them. The rooms are big enough. They have hay and water and things like that and food source in there for them. So they're covered. So they're out of the sun. And then what'll happen is when they fill that buy station up, which takes, you know, a couple days, they have another person that comes up there, transports those pigs out of that buy station in like a big cattle trailer to the slaughterhouse. There's one in Fort Worth that I know of, and there's one in San Antonio that I know of. And they'll take them down there, and then they'll buy them, and then they'll process them, and then they'll either make dog food with it, or they'll, you know, take the meat, ship it overseas, or ship it in state somewhere where they have people that want to buy it. So that's how the buying works in the state of Texas.
Oh, okay. So it's not a state facility, it's a private facility.
It is a private facility.
Oh, okay. All right.
So it depends on what the market is. It depends on what the pigs go for per pound. And I think right now they're like around 30 cents a pound.
Oh, okay.
Alive.
I had never heard of that until you mentioned that. So that was something that interested me on that. that would be cool if that was something that was set up here too in Florida. But you get a lot of people say that there isn't enough hogs, and these are like hog hunters because they want to be out there every night, running through 100 hogs a night, and then you got people like on the ranch side or the farm sides that say there is too many, but that would be cool if they had something set up like that, because here in the state of Florida, you can't transport unless you get a permit from the state of Florida, but it's also free to get. Also, you just have to send an application into the agriculture department and you get a permit.
Yeah. I guess the at the end of the day, there are too many. I mean, and when I've seen 80 pigs under deer feeders during deer season, and the hunters are like, I'm sick of this, so this is crazy. And then they're building like crazy, because I know in Florida they're building like crazy out there too. So in Texas they're building like crazy. So they start pushing these pigs out, and now they're in neighborhoods. So then they go into communities. Now you got to, I really do predict in the next 5 years that you'll see in city parks all across the South. You'll see in city parks, like you'll see a squirrel sign or whatever. You'll see a feral hog sign. It'll say feral hogs here. We see deer signs all the time, right? On the side, we were driving down the road, we see deer signs, deer crossing, whatever. We're not there yet, but we're about to be, where there's going to be feral hogs. Because I can tell you, I can drive you to certain parts of Texas where you'll see half a dozen pigs on the side of the road that have been hit by cars, and a bumper sitting beside it. Like, I was driving to my shop this year, and I saw a bumper on the side of the road, and a big old boar was dead on the side of the road that had been hit by a car, knocked their bumper off, and I guess they just said, hey, I'm gone.
Yeah. It's like that around here where we're at.
Yeah.
We go to town because where I live, I'm actually like in the middle of nowhere. So the closest town, the small towns, are like 30, 35 minutes away. So when we're going to town, it's nothing for us to see a couple of the dead hogs on the side of the road, like you're saying, with a bumper laying there or a headlight lens laying there, you know?
Yeah, that's a fact.
And you mentioned earlier too about the numbers that were reported in like 2017 or whatever it was, that the report that you was mentioning. It's always these people that the state departments send out there to the field, and they do their little surveys, and then they do their little calculations, and okay, this is how many hogs we got. That's never accurate. It never is.
Yeah, we have no idea how many pigs there really are. We really have no way of knowing. I mean, you can do the math, and I promise you, when you do the math, you're going to be like, whoa, because you know about how many pigs are eradicated a year, but then you go, well, how many were produced in that same year? Yeah. It's like 3 times that number, 4 times that number, maybe 10 times that number. We just don't know. And then in Florida, there's so much cover there for them, so that it gets so thick and deep. But Texas is the same way. We have so much land that's not occupied, and they just run free on it. And by the time they migrate to wherever they're going, their little sounder's gone from, 60 to, 700.
Yeah.
That's the way it works.
Yeah. That's like where one of my friends invites me to. We go hunt with him. It's in a sugarcane, and it's like some of the hogs, they actually might stay there in those sugarcane fields, but then you see a lot of hogs that come in from other pastures or other native areas, and there's no true way, like you said, there's no true way to gauge how many hogs are actually coming in and out of that area. You know what I mean? No. There's never a sure way to get those numbers on what a count is.
You can guess how many fish are in a lake, but you're not really ever going to know.
No, you're not. It's the same. It's the same way with the bear too down here in Florida. They say, okay, there's like 600 in the northeast area, and then we got 400 in the central area, and in South Florida we got 1,100 and this and that. But there's areas, like you said, that isn't occupied, so they're not getting the numbers there. But also like here where I am, I'm Native American, so I live on a reservation. So those state agencies don't come onto the reservation to take account here on the reservation. So there's never anything. No. There's
no way they're gonna know.
No. I like that sign you got back there behind you, man.
Appreciate it, man. That's my logo.
I keep looking at it because it's got the different lights
Oh yeah. It's like a disco in here. That thing stays on. It's got LEDs on it. It literally stays on 24/7. I just never turn it off.
So that's your night there.
Yeah, you walk in, it puts you in your happy place. You know, it's like, cool, ready to do this.
That's your zen right there, huh?
It is. Yeah, it is.
So go ahead and give us your links and all that stuff, because we did pass the hour mark. We're like hour 15, so we'll go ahead and close it out. But go ahead, give us your links and stuff to your whatever you got.
So Facebook is Texas Hogbait at Texas Hogbait. Instagram is Texas Hogbait at Texas Hogbait, and then TikTok is the same at Texas Hogbait. On all those platforms, we try to post different things on all of our different social media platforms, because everybody prefers Instagram, or one particular group of people prefer Instagram, or this particular group prefers Facebook. So we try not to do this exact same thing on every platform, just because we want to give a variety. So it's like, hey, you know what? There's a good reason to follow all three of them, you know, so you can see a variety of what we do. You know, one, we show a lot of trapping on Instagram. We show a lot of the trapping process on Instagram. Facebook, we share a lot of success stories about trappers and what hunters have done and things like that. We share a lot of your stories. You know, when people tag us and things, we're like, hey, look, here's this coming out of Florida. Here's this guy coming out of, I just posted one the other day coming out of Georgia. And then, you know, Instagram, we show a lot of like the manufacturing side of things, you know, like a lot of shirts, a lot of the, our apparel line and things like that. And, you know, it's like a happy medium. You got to figure out where people want to see on whatever platform it is. And then we try to, you know, meet their expectations.
Okay. And then you got a .com also?
Yep. TexasHogbait.com.
Okay.
Just the full word, TexasHogbait.com.
Okay. And then you're available online and then some stores, right?
Yep. And then Amazon.
Okay. Yeah, the Buc-ee's. You mentioned Buc-ee's. Where's that Buc-ee's in Florida at?
It's close to like right as you cross the border. So it's I can't remember, Pensacola area.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's about 11 hours probably from me.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, because I'm way South Florida. All right, man. Well, it was good chopping it up with you, man. And
it's good talking to
you, man, and a lot of good insight on your product there.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me out here. I really appreciate you guys reaching out
to
me.
Yes, sir, man. Alex had mentioned that he said, yeah, I could get Jackie from Texas Hogbait. I said, all right, cool, man. I'd like to check it out. And then he was telling me, he said, yeah, man, he's a really cool guy. I said, shit, let's get it on.
Let's do it.
Yeah,
let's do it.
Yeah. But we appreciate you giving us some of your time and some insight on your company. And we wish you much success. And hopefully maybe we can do this again sometime down the road.
Yeah, for sure. I'd love to. It'd be great, man. I appreciate you, brother.
Appreciate you. And that is our episode for this evening on Hog Hunting Podcast with our guest, Jackie Parker from Texas Hogbait. Woo! Caught hog. See you later. All right, man. That was a good one, man.
Awesome, brother.